This one will be a bunch of personal questions, something that's outside of product management, but I think it's pretty interesting, and probably my favorite part of this edition as well. You moved to US recently. I know it's just been 2 weeks. What's one thing you miss about India already?
Oh, I miss Swiggy and Dunzo a lot. Here, I mean, we do have like Swiggy Dunzo equivalent in the US, but it's just too costly. So I miss them a lot. Even thinking from a product point of view, you should really hyper localize everything in the US.
Got it. Is there any stark differences between the working culture? I think you've been working remotely with the same team for some time. Yeah. Now you've just moved, but is there anything that you can point out?
Honestly, nothing. Because it's like what was my core team previously is my extended team now, and what is my extended team back then is my core team now. So culturally, it's all the same. It's all awesome people, very intelligent, smart people building stuff. So from time to time, you do get imposter syndrome, and you'd catch yourself saying what's happening, but that's about it. Nothing culturally different. It's all the same.
Got it. You mentioned imposter syndrome. How does Srinidy deal with imposter syndrome?
Does that come in the fun part? I don't know that, but okay. So imposter syndrome, I think that's something I deal with even now every day. It would just take one smart engineer or one smart PM for my imposter syndrome to kick in. So that could be like anybody I meet throughout the day, and I'd be like, shoot, they are too good, and why am I even here? And I always have a thinking that, if you leave the job today, anybody can replace you tomorrow. So what is that value addition you're bringing? Or sometimes I catch myself saying, what you're doing today could be done by anybody who's outside. It's just that you're on the inside and they're not. So how does that make you better, etc. Right? So these are all the questions that will extremely challenge myself, and I live through that every day. But one thing that I keep reminding myself when I have that question of what's the only difference is I'm here, I can right now make the change, and whereas people outside can't. So I just want to do the best of whatever I'm doing, and even if it's just like an incremental changes of like writing one PRD every day, that's okay for me. And I just go by small wins to keep myself motivated. But imposter syndrome do come from time to time.
You mentioned about mentorship a couple of times, I think, in the previous segments. How do you find mentors, or what is mentorship to you? How do you suggest people who are looking or listening to this podcast? Any tips for them?
Yeah, mentorship is extremely personal to me. Like, honestly, when I look back my 5 to 6 years of career journey in itself, without the people who gave me the valuable inputs and feedbacks, I wouldn't be here all by myself. And you actually need a sounding board who will help you make those judgments. I mean, those judgment calls, right? And one of my mentor always says, a good mentor never really gives you what to do. They'll just be indicative of what you need to do, and you pick the pieces and you run with it, right? So your mentor is neither happy nor sad because you're taking certain decision. They're just there to listen to what you have to do, so that they know that you're not doing something extremely wrong or extremely something that you shouldn't be doing. So mentorship has been like extremely personal to me. I have at all points in my life and career, when I was confused, when I did not know what the next step was, or when I was extremely demotivated by a series of 20 interview failures, I had different kind of people who cheered me up in different ways. So some of the people that I've already mentioned, but few more that I want to mention are like Senthil Kandaswamy, who's like a director of products at Freshworks. He is a director and he did not have to talk to me, but he still spent some time going over what was my good, what is something that I have to improve. And he always suggests, design of everyday thing, as a book. That is something that has to be read by everybody, be it like you're a PM or a designer or anybody, right? You should just like read it to just see how simple everything around you is, but you can still make product judgments. So Senthil really helped me in some of the crucial times in my life. There are a lot more people who help me from time to time, and I shamelessly reach out to people saying that, hey, I want to talk to you because I'm going through this and I think you can help me. So even within Microsoft, mentorship as a culture is really welcome. So internally as well, there is this mentor circles and all where we talk to people one-off. So I actually reached out to one of my mentors from year back of connecting, and I told her, hey, I got the job, and she was like really happy, right? So it needn't even be like you have to talk to your mentors every 15 days or every 1 week to give your life update, but you could definitely reach back to them and they're going to be all happy to know what you're up to in life.
Well, that's amazing. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
The last two questions. This one's slightly controversial. Is there like a dream company? I know you're already at Microsoft, but if you were to work at next company or whenever you plan to move on from here, what would that look like for you?
I haven't really thought about it because I'm very much dependent on Microsoft right now. But just kidding. Like working in Google would be really nice. But definitely growing within Microsoft is also equally exciting. Like the mission culture, the people I work with has been extremely motivating for me. So I don't see a reason of why I jump somewhere quickly. But in the long term, if I want to move somewhere, Google would definitely be on the radar.
Got it. Last one, I think you worked across multiple large organizations, and maybe you've been part of our friends at Stoa. You've been hearing. I'm sure lots of your batchmates there would have been part of 0 to 1, or I think lots of people talking just about startups there, right? So sometimes that worry you. How do you look at it? Has that ever crossed your mind? Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, like I can't really Stoa completely skip my mind so far. So Stoa has been one of the cornerstone in whatever I've been doing in my life, right? Like if professional mentors are one thing, having friends who inspire you equally are also something completely different. Like I am extremely like I know people in my batch like one level closer because obviously they did the cohort with me, but there are also like super inspiring people across the cohorts who I talk to from time to time. Definitely Rajan, Aditya, like I've hit them up with the most random wizard questions, and at any point in time they've always responded. And Manoj as well. Like Manoj is one of the co-founders at Stoa, and Manoj definitely helped me get a lot of cool introduction to people who were working in Microsoft US, who were like his batchmates, his colleagues from the previous company. And there was no need for Manoj to do all of that because he's very busy curating an awesome curriculum for Stoa. But again, Manoj took a lot of time and effort to introduce me to people. And then I spoke to a lot of them even before I could apply for an internal transfer or know how it works. I would have definitely spoken to 5 to 6 people who were purely introduced by Manoj for me. So Stoa has been amazing. Some shout out to some fun people are like Samya, obviously, Priyank, Lisha, Abhay, Ishan, and Karan, all of them. Like I'm definitely missing a lot more names here, but all of them definitely inspired me in more than one ways, right? Like we all need to talk about like Kachal Rai to, I'm going to do this decision in my life. Like definitely like with Priyank, especially, or even with Soumya, like I definitely talk a lot about like, okay, this is what is going to happen and etc. Like even before the world knows I'm going to move to the US, everybody at Stoa knew like from 6 months back that I'm going to move to the US. So they've always been my personal cheerleader. And I definitely spend a lot of time with Gunvina, Apurva as well, like even in real, right? Because for me, Stoa has always been, on the online or seeing everybody across the screen, but coming back and meeting people in person. So I spent some time with the girl gang. I don't know if I can say that, but Gunvina, Pallavi, Apurva, and a bunch of other folks. It was definitely fun. So Stoa extends beyond professional circles and for all the rightful reasons, right? Like people don't just sit and banter. They're talking about some ideas, and it's always just inspiring to just be amidst them and listen to what they talk.
No, that's amazing. I think what you mentioned is perfectly true. And I'd love to just extend that into like the mentorship that you mentioned earlier, right? I think having those peers who you can just, talk to as sounding boards, I think that is mentorship in itself, right? People who are probably just maybe a year or two ahead of you, maybe your batch, just hearing their opinion. Then, the senior folks, I think all of that comes under the bucket. And I think peers in general, I think communities are that, right? It's not just about, hey, professional, hey, we're coming together for an alt MBA. Some of the closest friends that I think I chat with today are people from TPS. And I didn't know, I think Gunvina and you knew each other from, so that's amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think this was a fantastic chat, Srinidy. Thanks for being so candid. Really enjoyed learning more about, the Microsoft process, how your journey's been, and wishing you the very best. I think it's a new geography, new friends, probably a slightly new environment for you. So all the best with whatever is coming through, and we'd love to,
Yeah.
stay tuned and keep posted on how your journey goes through.
Absolutely. Thank you, Suhas, for having me. And it was, this is my, I mean, life came a full circle for me, honestly. Like from doing events with TPF to all the way doing interviews with TPF, and also personally, like interviewing people for the broadcast to all the way getting being interviewed. This was so much fun. And thank you so much for having me today.
Same. Thanks so much, Srinidy.
Thanks. Bye.